Welcome back to The Edge. How is that Google search antitrust trial going so far? Google has a system that it claims will compete with OpenAI and ChatGPT. What do we know about Gemini? More algorithm changes in the form of Google's September 2023 helpful content update. What are the two most important changes that you need to know about? You're listening to News from The Edge for the week of September 18th, 2023 here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
We're a day late because of that Morty dude, I tell you what. Right? He wouldn't show up. He's still not showing up. But we've got somebody better. Hey, this is Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. We're covering SEO and digital marketing news of the week, each and every week. That's separate from our interview series. So go check that out as well over at edgeofthewebradio.com. Joining me this week to get her take on the news is Lydia Infante. She's the senior SEO over at Sanity.io. Lydia, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm kind of happy that Morty's not here because I can be your new pretty face for the news.
There you go.
Prettier than Morty, right?
I mean, that's a low bar.
Oh my God, poor Morty. He's
Poor
so
guy.
nice.
No, Morty's my favorite.
Yeah.
But Lydia, you're my second favorite.
Wait, over me.
Oh, man.
Well, I understand. We have a shorter relationship.
Exactly.
She's gonna be showing up at every recording session for the next month, right? I think
Take that spot.
Now, exactly. Well, we have actually come up with Morty's title, and we're going to share it out after the show here. But we actually found the correct title that he needs to be using for all of his connections, all the digital touch points. You got to stay tuned on our social whenever we throw that one out there. We got to persuade him, and the entire community needs to persuade him to change his title here. So. That said, what's happening in Lydia's world? What's going on over there?
Literally in my world,
Yeah.
not much. I'm going to Portugal tomorrow
Oh,
for
wow.
an offsite with Sanity. We're going to be working on our marketing strategy, get all the heads together. And obviously AI is going to come up. And actually, I just got a Slack message saying we all get ChatGPT Premium at work. So
Oh,
that's nice.
wow. That's a perk right there.
That is a perk, isn't it?
Very cool.
I've been
Very
using it all this time. Like they already let me expense it, but now it's a company policy. Everybody gets it.
It's an all skate. That's fantastic. We probably need to do that here, right? But how much trouble could we get in,
None.
Jacob?
Zero trouble.
No trouble whatsoever?
No, not at all. There's nothing that can go wrong with that.
For some odd reason, I think you're being facetious here.
Never.
Well, hey, you know what? We're going to jump into some news about AI like we always do. But let's pivot around here real quick. You know what's better than listening to the show while it's meeting us in person at Brighton SEO? You know what's even better? Getting in for free.
I like free.
Free is what we're talking about here. So November 9th and 10th is Brighton SEO in San Diego. And we've teamed up with them to actually give away free tickets for single day visits over to either the 9th or the 10th, or you can actually level up and get both days here. But we're giving away a $450 value, I believe, on these single day tickets. So what you need to do is go over to edgeofthewebradio.com/Brighton SEO. Rules do apply, right? The sweepstakes began September 11th and they'll end November 2nd at 11:59 a.m. Pacific time. Winner will be selected by random draw under the supervision of the sponsor, Rough Agenda USA Limited. The winner will be notified within 3 days of the winner selection. So here's the deal, guys. We checked. There's a lot of clicks going over to them from our URLs here, but here's the deal is that nobody submitted into the sweepstakes last week. We're giving away free tickets. So Edge listeners, jump in there. Drop your name in there. Let's see what's happening from the Edge Nation here. We want to make sure that we give Brighton SEO some love here. Can you believe that nobody even entered into the sweepstakes? What's going on there?
I don't know. I already know my tickets there. So
Oh, people are missing out. It's so cool. Brighton SEO is such a cool conference.
Absolutely. And this is the inaugural one, right? In San Diego, the first time they're in the U.S. So everybody's listening, you better go over there and jump in and visit San Diego because Morty's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Jacob's going to be there. Yep. Lydia's not going to be there.
I'm not going to be
Maybe that's
there.
what we're missing.
Right now, I'm getting big FOMO, and I might enter the sweepstakes myself.
There you go.
We might have to pressure Lydia to actually show up, right? let's sponsor a trip for
Yeah,
Lydia.
I can do
All right. So go over there, edgeofthewebradio.com/Brighton SEO, BrightonSEO, to enter in the sweepstakes. And they'll be announcing the winners here as more tickets are given away. So jump over there, guys. All right. So first news article from Search Engine Land by Nicola Agius. The Google Search Antitrust Trial updates. Everything that you need to know so far. So it's underway, folks. This landmark court case can actually be seen right now. It's being driven by the U.S. Justice Department and could spell huge changes for Google and the future of the internet. So here's the scenario here. The U.S. Justice Department claims that Google, which owns 90% market share in search, I'm going to actually put as an asterisk, right? Paid massive sums to companies like Apple to be able to make it the default search engine on products like the iPhone. This is a multi-billion-dollar deal, and it gave Google an unfair advantage, the DOJ alleges, making it nearly impossible for rival companies to compete. So the trial is going to last 10 weeks. It's going to include testimonies from key figures like Alphabet and the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai. Says Nicola, the outcome of the landmark case could actually bring significant changes to Google and the future of the internet. So what are we talking about here? Why is this such a big deal? Well, Google credits its 90% market share to being a superior platform, not that it's buying into that audience, right? So they argue that users can easily switch to rival engines, even if it is the default. And Jacob, we were talking beforehand on this. That's absolutely correct. Anybody can change their default search engine.
Sure.
It's not that the users are being prevented from doing that, right? It's just the ease of use, the ease of change.
Right. It sounds like they're trying to
And
say
the amount of friction.
yeah, exactly. They're saying it's too difficult to change.
All right.
I think the example they gave is 10 steps to change it. You know, I don't know.
Oh, that's an Android phone. So, I mean, iPhone is like 2, right?
I don't know. I haven't tried it.
How many clicks does it take to get to the center?
We need an
of the
owl.
default?
We need an owl mascot to figure this out for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it is true. Like the amount of friction can really like make a change in whether or not you choose to go with this, and especially the brand association. So if you have an iPhone, you trust the Apple brand.
Right.
You trust the Apple defaults. Therefore, there is an implicit trust of Apple endorsing Google that makes that alleged monopoly possible, right? And it's not just like the friction, and the psychological effect of friction cannot be underestimated, but also the halo effect of the endorsement of Apple towards Google. Halo effect is also a psychological term for when you think pretty people do things better than people that are less pretty, and you transfer. Sorry, that is a very simplified version of explaining it, but you know when George Clooney does the Nespresso ads,
Right.
you grab his like, oh, George Clooney is so elegant, so classy.
Not in
Therefore,
Batman, he wasn't.
Nespresso, so elegant, so classy. I am a lot younger than you.
George Clooney won't even let his kids see him act in Batman. That's how bad it was. All right, keep on going.
I have not seen it.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, don't.
Just
Skip-
don't.
Skip those. My question to you, though, Lydia, is like, if Apple's going to present any search engine, either as a default or this article talks about they originally wanted to present either Google or Yahoo and let users pick when they first turn on their phone. Where's Bing?
Right.
How is that not the antitrust? That Apple, big competitor to Microsoft, is not showing you Bing as an option. So if Google hadn't done this and Apple went along their own way and even offered 2, how do you decide how many they have to offer before it's a problem? Or,
Right.
you know,
I mean,
who
to
are they
what
leaving out?
extent are you like obligated to promote your own competitors on your own
Right.
products, right? Like
Sure.
it
Right,
is
exactly.
complicated. Well,
Yeah.
Apple and Google are not. Well, they are competing because of the Pixel, but not really. Like if you're gonna buy a Pixel, you're probably a nerd like me or my husband, not an Apple person.
We won't hold that against you. Anyway, the point being, here's where I am, is this really the entire world that we're dealing with here, or is it the consumers that are using the Apple product? That's what we're talking about here. So does an antitrust suit even make sense? Because all you're doing is connecting to Apple's consumers, right? Not a nation or a population of the world that doesn't have any other place to go. You're going into the phone. The consumers actually trust the phone, and you're absolutely paying for that trust, that endorsement. But it is not iPhones are everywhere, but it does not represent 8.5 billion users out there. It's a
But what
fraction of
about
that,
the
right?
force of habit, right? Because you're dealing with the way that Google becomes the mental default and the
Mm-hmm.
top of mind, and the little things that they're doing to become top of mind and paying to become top of mind like that. We all do it, but to the point where you become so big, that is when it becomes problematic because you're no longer the option. Now, there are options, but there's friction to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And acquiring that market share means that we don't say we search, we say we Google things. We don't search online for things.
Right.
So
No,
the
no,
moment
no.
in which you are part of the vocabulary, you are becoming the mental default, not just the settings default.
But
And
isn't
I
that
think there's a
isn't that
psychology matter.
but how is that attributable to the default search engine as opposed to Google actually rolling out very good products that consumers actually consume,
Yeah.
right? So
I
how,
think
how
it's
do you
combined. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
bit of a feedback loop. I don't know if is it only the Apple thing that's included into the
No,
antitrust file?
actually
Because I was looking at it and it's the main thing, right?
it's the main thing,
Yeah.
but I mean there's a number of subpoints like allegations that they destroyed documents because they allegedly knew that they were violating antitrust laws. And on top of that, Apple allegedly did not want a default search engine. However, Google actually imposed a bit of a imposition there that Google rejected the proposal that users could select Google or Yahoo, and they said, nope, no default placement, no revenue share, right? But that's between two
That's a
companies.
choice on Google as well,
Absolutely.
on Apple.
And
Like they
it's
wanted the
absolutely the case.
10 billion or 10 million, 10 billion, I assume.
Yeah.
So they went for it.
They went for it, absolutely. So there's a number of subpoints in here, but the larger point is this antitrust or is this, in my opinion, a consumer base that's associated to one particular product, right? So there's a number of points in this article. Please go over and check it out. We're not doing it nearly enough justice because there are a lot of very important points when it comes down to this antitrust. And Lydia, you actually did say something here a couple moments ago here before we got on the show here is what would this change if the judgment's against Google? Well, there's certainly going to be a penalty here, right? But if the government wins this case, it could mean that Google's no longer automatically installed as the default search engine on everyday products and could threaten its position as, says Aegeus, the world's search leader. That means that rival companies like Yahoo could realistically stand a chance of taking Google's crown for the first time, which could bring significant changes to the search landscape as we know it. Yeah.
I think that would be a wild ride, right? Because we're being threatened in every single direction. The
Right.
status quo of search marketing is being threatened. Google used to be the one and only, right? And Bing became a little bit of a joke. Now Bing is stepping up their game with a
Mm-hmm.
Bing chat, but that still has not moved the market share.
Right.
And
No, it
then
hasn't.
Google it hasn't,
Nope.
right? Like Google brings SGE, and well, kind of like the threat of SGE. That's how it feels like to me. That's going to change the entire economy of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's no longer going to be about search volume getting traffic. It changes the principles of content marketing, which used to be I will help you, and then you will remember me when you need my services or services that are adjacent to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Google is no longer the default, SG is no longer such a large threat.
Right.
And then we also have, if all of these other search engines are coming on back into the game,
But
um,
nowhere
as
nearly as
SEOs,
evolved as Google, right?
exactly, easier to trick,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we could see a regression of the industry going back to the older tricks of like having keywords over in like white font over white background. We could see all types of shenanigans happening. We could see like a restart
Mm-hmm.
of SEO as we know it
Yeah.
until, I don't know, Bing rolls out a panda penalty. You
Oh,
know,
gee.
that would be
I'm getting
penguin
flashbacks
and panda
here,
all over.
Lydia. I don't like the darkness that you're showing to our audience. I really don't.
I want to bring up one last point
Yeah.
before. I know we got other articles to go through, but
Yep.
this hits me.
It's meaty.
So further down in the article, it talks about how Google used to face competition to be the default on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
They say that in 2011, they observed that AT&T had selected Yahoo as
Mhm.
its default engine, and Verizon had opted for Microsoft Bing.
Right.
Why? where's the antitrust become? Because if the antitrust is all about a different company picking a default for me, wouldn't all of these situations be antitrust? Or is it only antitrust because the biggest and you know, the most wealthy
Right.
is the default? So I
mean,
feel
it's
like
because 90% is borderline a monopoly, right?
Right.
yeah, but I guess my point is it antitrust because they're so big and they're doing this, or is it antitrust because there's if they're found like you can't be the default on phones, well then all these other companies that did it. How did Microsoft become the number one search engine for Verizon phones? Did they pay money? You know,
Right.
that is it the amount of money spent? I don't know. Like there's a lot I don't fully get. Maybe it's because I'm not a lawyer.
And is this just a lawyer feeding frenzy? Right.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, because they have not only this antitrust, there's a heck of a lot of other lawsuits. Well, I mean, Google is Google, so there's always lawsuits.
Right.
But they're going after.
I mean, the Lamborghini store is going to be on fire when these people are done. They're all going to be getting new cars.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So we'll certainly watch that. 10 weeks are going to be going by. I won't even predict what the heck's going to happen there. But hey, there's something else coming from Google right now. From Search Engine Journal, Chrissy Hines writes about Google Gemini, what we know so far. So based on latest interviews and reports, we have Google Gemini, and that's the upcoming AI system to compete with ChatGPTs from OpenAI. So this Google DeepMind is actually creating this new LLM. This is the learning language model called Gemini to compete with OpenAI. It's reportedly given select companies early access to Gemini, signaling an upcoming release. And the fusion of DeepMind and Google resources makes Gemini's impact potentially immense. So what are we talking about here? Gemini is going to be the engagement factor beyond the SGE that we're talking about. This is going to be an entire AI model that is going to be also providing you multimodal responses, not just chat, but different images and video responses, and probably a personalized assistant as well. But there's a lot of future capabilities that Pichai over at Google actually discussed whenever we had the Google I.O. here a couple months back. Lydia, you wanted to say something there.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's exciting and wild about this specific development is how this AI could be integrated into the wider Google products, right? We saw this kind of a dream that they presented where AIs are emailing other AIs and pretending to be human
Right.
and summarizing documents for us. But yeah, imagine AI learning your patterns when it comes to working or your routines. Maybe the AI could remind me of my piano class on Wednesdays at 12
Right.
that sometimes I forget, right? I just like the idea of the integration, but I also find it kind of scary because if you connect a large language model to all of the private information that you have, first there is a security concern that would be like the target of everyone. I would want to, like, if I was a cyber criminal, I would want that. That would be the gold mine, the treasure. But also, how is this going to connect to other questions that are coming up about AI when it comes to ethics, reproducing biases, and respecting copyrights and the creator economy?
Yeah. I mean, all those are good points, especially whenever you're talking about biases, right? Because we know this time last year, there was our huge kerfuffle about the language training that was going on had systemic American bias, and it was not culturally balanced for other countries, right? And the scientist that actually blew the whistle on that subsequently got fired, right, out of Google, and also made a pretty big case against what they're doing over there. So if you're in a space, and again, same thing as Google's the biggest thing in the room, right? When it comes down to their AI build here, it's got 175 billion parameters. It's going to be exceeding the size of GPT-3. That's huge. And to be able to actually govern how these interactions are working with humans, right? We have to have an ethical boundary. We have to have these parameters that AI cannot go outside of. And I mean, the EU is already bringing this as a major discussion of how they're going to protect themselves from AI, right?
Yeah.
And
you talk about ethical issues.
Right.
Did you say like a year ago? But like 2 weeks ago, Lily Ray brought up a screenshot of SGE when asked about the best political leaders in the world, it would bring up Hitler.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh,
like,
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
just filter out Hitler. Like as a default, filter out Hitler for all your
I
SEO.
think we've had that conversation before. Yeah, can we just take him offline?
It's misrepresenting best as
Most, if most, what's
like
the
most
word?
written about. I mean, Hitler's
Most
probably
written
one of the most
about.
written about leaders ever. At least written about after the fact.
Right.
So it just saw
During
it
the
probably
fact as well.
well
Right.
during the fact as well too. But I'm just saying, like, it probably just looked at the amount of articles and data and opinions out there. It's like that's what best means.
Right,
Something
exactly.
that's written about a lot.
And that
That's-
goes into the
yeah.
understanding of what those terms really mean. And we've had issues after issues regarding what Google would shore up, especially when it's experimenting. And this is the other issue, is that if we're being experimented on with AI, which we know we are, right? Then one, where's the transaction model for the users to actually train their own software? But two, how do we know that there's a level of non-biasy and non-agenda based interactions, right? Now, we could have said the same thing with ChatGPT and Microsoft's buy-in for ChatGPT, but now we're back into the Google saddle of how big Google is. Do no evil has been removed from their mantra there. And how can we trust a learning model to get it right? You know, maybe I'm speaking out of my pay grade here, but I'm concerned. I really am concerned about how much we're leaning into this without really doing a checks and balance and a kind of a regulatory process. Lydia, final thoughts there?
Honestly, I agree. And I feel like I'm being kind of like anti-progress with this idea, maybe, and I hate the thought of being anti-progress, but the impact of all of that computer processing in the carbon footprint
Mm-hmm.
of a mega corporation like Google is not small,
No.
and it doesn't significantly improve the user experience. But also, there's something that stuck with me when I heard it in a podcast like years ago. There was an experiment on the BBC website for the UK
Mm-hmm.
that created a delay in the loading time of one specific page that was being used at the scale of millions of people,
Mm.
right? And at the end of the experiment, they estimated that Britain had lost about 5 years total of work. So that has impact on the time of the people who are
Mhm.
being experimented on, but also impact on the GDP of the country.
Holy crap.
Like one day of holiday, like when in February that like the economy shrinks or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is doing worse versus their objectives because it's a shorter month.
Mhm.
Imagine the loss of time of an experiment at scale
Right.
and the environmental impact of all of that computing power for what? For profit of a corporation. I don't know. I feel like I have a bit of a communist hat going on today.
Oh, well, it's good to be able to have these conversations, but we're talking about Google an awful lot, right? And we're talking about AI an awful lot, but these are the things that are working inside of our ecosystem, folks. So we have to have these conversations.
But
Pivoting
as a
right.
marketer, it is exciting, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
multimodal AI, like, yeah.
Rock
bring
and
it.
roll. Even if
As
it gets
a
it
human
wrong,
being,
right?
don't bring it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, hey, we are proud to have Site Strategics as a sponsor of this news series of Edge of the Web. Our firm is a 19-year-old digital marketing firm focused on entity SEO, technical SEO, search engine marketing, social media, and managing your digital connection with your clients. We're results-based marketing that works. We've also developed a unique content curation process and omni-channel media marketing process. Talk about multimodal. That's guided by our weekly R&D from Edge of the Web interviews. We incorporate the best techniques for content, broadcast strategy, and execution. So if you're interested in what we can do for you, just give us a call at 877-SEO for web, or just reach us online. How about that? Over at sitestrategics.com. Connect with us. We'll have a free hour consultation, talk about your digital marketing needs, and maybe there's a path that we can go down together. All right, third article here, and sorry to belabor it, but it's another Google reference. I mean, it's all Google. Google's September 2023 helpful content update. It changes in the algorithm here. Google announced the September 2023 helpful content update, which contains two important changes on how sites are ranked, writes Roger Monti over at Search Engine Journal here. So check this out. Just like we literally just had a core algorithm update back in mid-August. Now they released a helpful content. This is the third version of the classifier here. And here are some of the points here. They loosened the guidance on AI generated content. We'll get to that here in a second. The helpful content system is cracking down on third-party content hosted on subdomains. That's interesting. And new warnings on attempts to fake updates to pages and faking freshness. Gary Eash also offers a bit of an insight into the helpful content system. But long story short here is, we know helpful content system has been around for the last year, and originally we were looking at this as an AI buster, basically. But Barry actually raised up something that was really interesting here, is that the original guidance in their
Documentation.
their documentation actually said Google's helpful content system generates a signal used by our automated ranking systems to better ensure that people see original, helpful content written by people for people in search results. The updated declaration in the documentation says Google Search's helpful content system generates a signal used by our automated ranking systems to better ensure people see original, helpful content created for people in search results. And that nuance is very, very important. Not created by people, but for people. So are the gates open for AI as long as it's checked, as long as it's verified, right?
As long as it's good, right? As
Yeah,
long as it's
absolutely.
helpful.
Yeah,
Because you can make really awesome content that is created with AI.
sure.
I'm convinced that you can. I have. So I know it's possible.
It's absolutely there, but you're in the mode of sculpting, basically. You're taking and
Exactly.
you're basically crowdsourcing information and then be able to put your particular nuance or focus or subject matter expertise in here. So it's really kind of a research assistant as opposed to anything else, right?
Or you can use it as a rephraser, right?
Mhm.
So if you deeply understand your audience, you can use ChatGPT and adjacent technologies to create a bit of a translator. Yep. In the we
Right.
recorded a podcast a little bit ago,
Mhm.
and we found that technical people and content people understand concepts a little bit differently. And we all know that executives and C-level understand concepts also a little bit different. What if we could grab a concept with what the LLM model knows about
Mhm.
this concept, plus some fact checking sources for it to be like accurate, feed it information about what each of these personas care about,
Right.
and generate via AI a translator, a business translator that triangulates content people, executives, and technical people. That would be original content created with AI, not because we're using AI as a research assistant, but because we're using it as a pattern finder
There you go.
and a translator. And it is helpful, and it is AI driven, and it is user focused.
Yes. Using it for good, not evil, right? Well, I
And
mean,
to save myself a ton of work, to be honest.
well, Gary Eash actually dropped a bit of a bomb here on something else along with the AI generated information there, or the guidance docs changing. They also went after rented out subdomains on websites. Now, that's kind of like coupons.cnn.com or coupons.forbes.com. They've noticed that these sites actually rent out these subdomains and even subdirectories. And Gary says these are going to third parties, typically without any oversight over the content that's being hosted on those newly generated low quality microsites that have nothing to do with the parent site. In fact, the microsite are rarely ever linked from the parent sites, which they don't actually want to endorse what's often questionable sites. The only reason the owners of these shady microsites rent these subspaces is to manipulate search results. So long story short here is they are going after these subdomains that really have nothing to do with the content that's on the prime domain. They've just been renting out that real estate, and for the most part, it's questionable content. So another kind of anti-spam attack here with the helpful content update. So again, this is points of information you have to, if you're running a subdomain content rent out space, you probably know exactly what you're doing anyway. So this is not news to you.
Probably don't care about
Probably
this
don't
update.
care. You really don't. So there's a number of additional guidance points here, but if you're watching the
I mean, what's
algorithm,
revolutionary about this specific thing is that it's not punishing the subdomains, it's punishing the main domain. It's saying
wow.
we're going to evaluate your main domain with the subdomain.
Oh.
So all of this side money that you're making, you're going to be losing on the main like downgrade of your rankings.
So I failed to mention that. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because that's the teeth right there, is that the game's afoot. And they were talking millions of dollars here, most likely. We really
Yeah.
are. So read the entire article over at Search Engine Journal. Great summary of what's going on there. There's a number of insights about this. And from a volatility standpoint, we're not going to be seeing what's really transpiring until several weeks later. But it's a twofer. Over 30 days, we've had some mammoth changes here. So watch your rankings, watch your search visibility, watch your featured snippets and your search elements as well, because you may very well be winning the day with what you have been doing from a helpful content creation. Just speaking to people that have been taking this seriously, this may be a red letter day for everybody. All right.
It's a bit of a classic as well on this one, like for them to deliver one update after the other, right? Like
Yeah.
lately we've seen it, and you're not able to isolate specific changes to the performance of your site to either. And it is quite intense. It feels a little bit cheeky, but it is what's happening. And they also mentioned on this update the manipulation of the concept of freshness. And I think that's really key because
Right.
a quick and easy way to get a little bit of a bump on the SERPs, one of the very few last tricks that were still working was to just change the updated date or make a minor improvement
Right.
into the content,
Right.
and then like change the updated date or the published date. And that's just lying to Google. That's just lying to Google.
And
Machine learning is gonna get you.
especially if you were automating it in any way, shape, or form. Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
So that said, check out the article here. Good, rich information to understand about the algorithm. Also, check out the other articles on these different platforms, because they're talking about this right now. It's very important. We really freaked out when the first helpful content update came through. This should be pretty powerful, so watch some of the top subject matter leaders share their data out there. Hey, we do want to reference our last sponsor of the day here. That's InLinks. I want to make sure that you know what they do for you from a content optimization standpoint. Did you know that entities play a major role in how search engines understand and rank content now? So optimizing your content solely for keywords is a thing of the past. You've got to look at entities, and this tool is a fantastic award-winning software in entity SEO. And it's got a fantastic AI LLM engine behind the scenes here, being able to process content, but also being able to give you suggestions on type of content you should be writing about, even in social media. It can actually create a social media calendar for you, reading the existing content of your website and actually creating content that is poised for users on different social media platforms. They're constantly evolving this software over at InLinks. I mean, just with the last 2 years, 3 years that we've been involved with them, they have come so many levels of evolution, and we're certainly fanboys over here, fangirls over here on the software. I mean, we're in it all the time. So kudos to InLinks for their constant evaluation. Go over to edgeofthewebradio.com/InLinks today if you want to jump in there, try it out. You get a 14-day free trial. Claim that via that link, and hey, you're going to have a great time. They're good people to do business with. Okay. Got to give you some AI information here, AI news and tools. Check this out. Talk about freaking out on AI. Here's another example of, holy crap, are you serious here? Over at Search Engine Land, writes Nicola Agius as well, Microsoft calls a deceased NBA player useless in an AI-written obituary. The MSN article was supposed to pay tribute to the late NBA star Brandon Hunter, and it was offensive and incomprehensible. All right, so we're going to trust AI to write our obituaries, and on top of that, anybody checking this, folks?
Story by editor. Editor where? Where was the editor when this got live? Story by ChatGPT.
Oh my Lord. There was a lot of chatter around this on social media, but check this out. Here's an alternative angle on AI. A boy saw 17 doctors over 3 years for chronic pain, and ChatGPT found the diagnosis. What the heck? And this,
You know what? Oh, you know what this reminds me of? If you remember a great tech podcast that's no longer going on, it's called Reply All. They did an article on how the TikTok algorithm had been matching people with their diagnosis that they had not been able to find. and then they would run into specific videos talking about very specific conditions
Right.
that were actually what they had, and they were able to bring it to the doctor and get diagnosed just because of the way that the algorithm was pairing you to your peers, which is insane. Machine learning knows more about the relationships and patterns in the world than ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that reminds me of, weren't there some companies that kind of got in trouble for telling women they were pregnant before the women knew? Because they were Googling
That's
symptoms and stuff,
true.
and then they were getting either ads or things sent to them like, congratulations on being pregnant. Like, what? But they had Googled something and got
Right.
a cookie and like search it like, oh, yeah, I have headaches in the morning or whatever it is.
Right.
2 or 3 symptoms, and someone's like, oh, you're pregnant. And it would start hitting them with,
And
oops.
somebody
Yeah,
got it
yeah,
from
yeah,
like the shopping patterns of pregnant women that didn't know they were pregnant.
Right.
They would be sent like vouchers for baby food, like
Yeah.
congratulations, you're pregnant, and they didn't know.
Yeah. Nothing like finding out from an ad for a baby formula that you're expecting.
Crap, I better check that out. Yeah.
Wait, no, I recently got an ad for baby formula.
Uh-oh.
I need to go.
Congratulations.
So that's the thing, is that if we're automating so much of this and it's researching our patterns, right? We got to be able to filter this out a little bit, at least put a pause on it and go, you know what, AI, I really don't want you interpreting what I'm doing here or searching. And maybe that's a place of just personal responsibility as digital consumers. But my gosh, how many horror stories, right? I mean, this is a good positive one,
Right.
that this thing was able to diagnose, but how many horror stories? I mean, we're hearing some really negative stuff coming out of ChatGPT, right? And on top of that, just AI in particular, there's a lot of really weird and negative stuff that's happening. I just can't get my mind around where we're going to be going. We have to have certain responsibilities here. Anyway, point being, we got some tools here. Check this out. Meal practice. Effortless meal planning with AI-generated recipes. Now, tee this up just for this is okay. We're going to trust AI to actually concoct a recipe.
You know what I can't wait for?
Yes?
Hallucinations in my food recipes.
Exactly. That's where I was really going here.
Pancakes with
I think this is really
Pancakes with broccoli. Yes.
broccoli, chocolate chips, and
I feel like
sriracha.
this is a YouTube channel waiting to happen. Like I make my food with AI, something terrible happens.
Oh, that's actually really
I would
funny.
watch that. Yeah.
I would watch that too.
Yeah. Well, double down on this. Check this out. Storly, that's STORLY.ai. Write your life's story with AI interview algorithm. So not only your
I'm
recipes.
sending this straight to my dad. This goes straight to my dad.
You go
He's
through.
got the wildest stories.
So so you can actually have somebody go through interviews, and then this will actually write your story for free. Your story is kept private. Create a story in less than 5 minutes. It can be used personally or professionally. Authors, students, entrepreneurs, parents and grandparents, teachers, storytellers, start writing your unique stories today. So it's not only this personal, can it actually help you write a story? Is that what we're hearing here?
Have you seen the testimonials on the page?
Yeah.
There's somebody named Student that says, I mostly write about werewolves.
Somebody named
That's
Student.
hilarious. Somebody named Student. I'm
We-
not sure this
I don't think this is real.
testimonial's real.
No, check this out, is that we did another expose on an AI tool that was doing landing pages, right? And live, we actually shot out, make a landing page for an SEO company, right? And then make a landing page for something. And it was exactly the same content, almost word for word, and the exactly same testimonials on both. It was actually writing testimonials for you that, hey, I love this company. They were able to do this, this, and this. So generating up testimonials. Yeah, what could go wrong there, folks?
Just a lawsuit. It's payday for the lawyers.
I love the app. I built a few stories to promote my love for hydration, and I'm very happy with them. That's
Okay, ChatGPT. Good
my
for
love.
you.
My love for. I mean, I'm not making this up. That's
It's right there. My
my
love.
love for hydration.
Oh my gosh. Do you think this entire website was created by AI?
Oh no.
I am now on a rabbit hole. I'm on all of their social media. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tweet them. I'm sorry. I'm gonna X at them and say I also love hydration and werewolves.
Hydrated werewolves.
What could go wrong?
Creating werewolves.
Jeez. I think that's actually the mantra right here. We're looking at all these tools, and what could go wrong? I mean,
At this point, AI tools are building new AI tools to take our money.
exactly.
None of this is being run by humans. Everyone's all afraid of the Terminators coming to kill us, but they're just going to take all of our money and make hydration werewolf stories.
That's
it.
Okay, so they have human pictures on their Twitter because I have gone in this rabbit hole, but they only have one team photo and they recycle it for several different tweets.
Of course they do.
Ah.
One team photo, and look to see if they have
Yes.
6 fingers.
Right.
The hands are not for show. I've been investigating. Yes.
Okay, well, we got a berry blast here. All right, so I know we're long, but you know what? You love the berry blast, so do we. So check this out. There's a report of Google search things to know rarely showing now. Seems like Google search feature for things to know has significantly dropped and is rarely showing both now on desktop and mobile. Barry says he's personally not seeing things to know boxes for his test queries, and according to Rank Ranger, it has actually dropped and is no longer showing up for most, if not all, search engine results. So are we seeing the end of things to know as a SERP feature? Well, we also have seen FAQs finally drop off as well from desktop as well. Glenn Gabe actually reported that a little while ago, earlier this week, that all of a sudden the Rank Ranger charts of SERP features, everything's gone from a FAQ standpoint. What do you think about that, Lydia? Because I know you're big on the FAQ structured data here. That real estate's gone now. Should we still be doing structured data for FAQ?
Yeah, just for the same reason that we're doing entity SEO with tools like Inlinks.
Absolutely.
We're trying to be explicit to search engines in their own language
Yep.
about what exactly we are talking about. So yeah, I would still do it, especially if you're able to scale it and not make it shit for the user. But I'm also very happy with the things to know disappearing because it was terrible. Oh, 5 stars to this choice.
Very cool. Very cool. No, I completely agree with you. Is that the structures that is there not for our real estate? It's for communication to the search engine of what this information is about and entity mapping. So do not fall away. I know that the rush was there and it has been there for the longest time of FAQ structured data, and it was getting abused. That's why it's gone, folks.
Yeah.
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 So, but
But also, maybe when at long last we get voice search, the voice search revolution that we've been talking about for 5 years
Yep.
now, when it arrives,
Yep.
it is easier to say question, answer
There
if
you
you've
go.
got it on schema.
All right, last news item of the week here. Google tests blue highlighting text within the search results. Now, this was actually interesting. The real estate on this was pretty pronounced here. Over at Search Engine Roundtable, if you look at Barry's captures here, Google, he says, seems to be testing highlighting portions of text in the search results snippet. Very similar to the jump text whenever you're actually seeing a featured snippet. This seems different from the highlighting of featured snippets, he says, or people also ask, or things to know, rest in peace, or sections of the Explorer feature. This is Google using blue highlight on the normal search results. This was spotted by Jonas Sickler, who posted the following screenshot. So we're showing that on our video content. Go over, have a look. This pretty interesting. I saw this in the wild myself here. And what is this really doing from a usability standpoint? It's giving even briefer information than what it's actually showing in the SERP itself. So it's actually focusing the user on the relevant string of characters that's valuable for that search. That actually was useful to me as I was actually doing some searches. I was seeing that this was a good, just pop of the eyes consumption of what I really needed to know as opposed to reading the entire paragraph. What do you think about that, Lydia?
I love it, and it reminds me of it looks like an iteration of when I was doing PPC or back when if the keyword that you had in the meta description matched the keyword that was being used in
Right.
the query, it would go on in bold. It reminds me of that. And it also makes me think that if you have exactly the same content as everybody else that's being highlighted in there,
Right.
you're not going to stand out. It's going to be regurgitated content. So content that thinks of the user originality and puts the human first. Again, wins the day. It's also quite similar to the idea of Google rewriting your meta descriptions based on the query. I think this is a bit of an amalgamation of something that we've been seeing
Hmm.
before, just maybe a new iteration of it.
Good interpretation, and there are some pushbacks, or there's always pushbacks, but one comment on Search Engine Roundtable was saying that it's just visual noise, right? So who was that again?
Durant and Bowden said, bad idea. It just adds to visual clutter on the SERP.
There you
Oh, poor
Also,
man, are we gonna disagree with him in
also,
public?
go.
also said he likes hydration.
All right, that's it for Barry Blast. We always want a hat tip to Barry. He's always cranking out good observations in the SEO space. As you could also get from going to SEO Chat, hashtag SEO Chat, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Helpful content update is being discussed, hosted by Caitlin Hathaway, and you can find her at Caitlin the SEO on Twitter, and go join that community, join that conversation. You can actually jump in there and really discuss what we're seeing from the helpful content update that's rolling out here. That's pretty apropos, right?
And do jump on that one because Caitlin is amazing. She's my mentee at the Women in Tech
Oh,
SEO
fantastic.
mentorship. She is just a rocket. She's a rocket about to like explode and go into space.
Oh, my
10 out of
gosh.
10 human.
Fantastic. Yeah, we absolutely have to check that out. So, we're just kind of pitching because Morty's absent here, but we always want to give you SEO Chat each and every Thursday. All right, that's it for The Edge. Lydia, thank you so much for jumping in and going through the
Thank you.
news with us. We certainly want to recommend that listeners, you want to check out Lydia's podcast that we just recorded, and should be dropping around mid-October, what have you.
Yep, mid-October. 1 month.
Yep, 1 month from now. This week, you want to check out
Found SM.
Found SM, that's right. Is that Matt Holtz is going to be in there. We dug into GA4 and GA4 tuning as we all are getting subjugated to that environment. Has some really good insights on observations and testing that you can do inside of GA4. So check that out. Lydia, it was so nice to have you on the show here. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
There.
It was very nice
Aw,
being
see?
invited.
No, I don't even get to post it. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Do you want one?
Unicorn Post-its? No, I got plenty of them. All right. Hey, that's it for the show today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as you get updated whenever we drop some nuggets in there from all of us over at Edge. Stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
I like werewolves.